How's it going, everybody? Long time no see. I mentioned it in the last video. Content's been kind of slow for two reasons. One, I've been really busy in my personal life. It's that time of the year, getting ready for spring. We've been car shopping, friends. If you guys remember, I went on that road trip about 2 years ago to Calgary and picked up a Jeep Grand Cherokee. Been a great vehicle. It's good in the snow. It's pretty fuel efficient. Nice driving vehicle, but what we're finding, friends, living rural, when we go shopping on a Saturday, you go to Costco and fight the traffic, it's just not big enough. And those of you that have children out there or toddlers, our daughter is a year and a half now, the car seats are they're getting huge and pretty hard, kind of hard to fit the modern car seats in the back seat of the Jeep and just... So anyways, friends, we've been car shopping this week after work, which a lot of the time is when I'm puttering in the saw shop. But honestly, the main reason why the content's been slow, friends, we've had heat and then cold and then heat and then cold. This shop used to be a chicken hatchery. This was built onto the front of a Quonset, like a 60 by 40 Quonset hut, which has since been torn down. But this shop, friends, has 2 wells drilled into it. They've since caved in, they're full of mud, but what ends up happening, and I keep saying I'm going to patch them better, the water in the ground, we're on clay soil here, very poor drainage where I live. When the snow starts to melt in the spring, it goes in the ground about this far and then it all sits there. And what's happening, friends, it's actually coming through the floor in my shop. So, my bench is actually frozen to the ground right now, and there is a skating rink of water around me, and I've cleaned up the shop a little bit, but until the weather kind of cooperates and we get some warm weather for a good week and the ground thaws, this shop's it's sketchy in here, friends. It's icy, but anyways, that's what's been going on. Hope you guys have had a good week since I've been back, and I wanted to get something done today. It's been a long time in the coming. Friends, this is Caleb's saw, my buddy's saw. Now, this is actually my saw, friends. If you guys remember, I bought this off a local last summer just to play with it. I've never owned a 460. Ran this thing stock, and I honestly, friends, stock, I didn't really care for this saw. That's just me. I like a 440 better, or an 044 better than the 046 460. That's just me though, friends. For what I do and what I cut, I find this thing stock just doesn't do it for me. But anyhow, Caleb loves this chassis. He does large hardwood removals and stuff like that. He runs an 046 that's ported, and he also runs a 440 that I ported about 4 years ago. If you guys have been here, you guys will remember I bought that saw, rebuilt it, ported it, ran it for a bit, and that is one of the only saws that I've ever sold, friends. I give saws away from time to time and that, but Caleb was a friend of a friend. He phoned me up and he's like, hey, I run a tree service. I'd really like to have one of your saws. So I passed it on to him. He's still running that saw. But anyways, friends, fast forward. I don't know how long ago it was. It's probably getting to be about 2 years ago. Caleb sent me a 590 Echo to port. Now, I reluctantly took that job and got to work. Well, that saw had some runnability issues. Even stock, it did some weird things, and I tried to work around it. Well, that saw just ended up never becoming anything. It had ignition issues, and we threw parts at it for a while, friends. And long story short, Caleb was like, man, you don't have to keep working on that saw. And it was what it was. So I've always felt like I owe him a saw. And once I got this thing, I bought this thing specifically, friends, knowing that he would want it. So Caleb, buddy, this is your saw now. I built this saw for you. Tradesies, I'm going to trade him for the Echo 590 that just never became of anything. Even though, friends, I offered to buy him a brand new 590, and he wouldn't hear of it. And he's a good friend to me and just an all-around great guy. So anyways, what did we do to this saw? I took an OEM 460 cylinder, put a Meteor piston from Wolf Creek, and did some port work to it. bottom end on this saw was like brand new. This saw's in really good shape mechanically. It's got some dings on it and that, but otherwise it's a nice, presentable, usable work saw. Put a pipe on it. A subscriber, and I'm sorry, I forget the fellow's name. You know who you are. A subscriber made these dogs, and we put together this saw for Caleb. Anyways, today's video, I'm going to just get this thing ready and box it. I want to show you guys the boxing scenario and what I do to a saw before I ship it. I've had a lot of saws ship here. Sometimes they don't make it. They get sent back. Sometimes they make it and the box is full of gas and oil. And so I just want to show you guys how to ship a saw. It's a pretty simple process, but in my opinion, you got to do it properly. This saw is going to go about 2,000 miles from here to Houston, Texas. And that's right, there's loggers in Houston, Texas. He's a tree guy, friends. And when I think tree cutting, I don't think Texas, but there's actually some big hardwood down there. Anyhow, I'll bring you guys in maybe a little bit closer. I can't move my bench today. It's frozen to the floor, so we'll make do with whatever we can. Let's get to it. First things first, clean the saw. I don't want to send him a dirty saw. I've run this saw quite a bit, friends. It's got a few bumps on it now, but it is what it is, right? It's a work saw. I'm really happy with this saw. It's got no issues. We did the pipe test. First thing I'm going to do is just make sure everything is snug and good to go. Now, I've already done that on this saw. Now, thing about boxing a saw is, think about it. You can't assume that whoever's handling this box is going to treat it right. I've had some smashed boxes come here. And it doesn't matter if it's 100 miles or 10,000 miles. You never know how the box is going to look. So first thing I'm going to do, friends, I'm going to take this side cover off. Okay. I'm going to take these dogs off because I'll bet money on it. If I leave these on, they're going to poke a hole in the box. Okay. Now all I've done is loosen these two nuts here. Okay. Hope you guys like this kind of content. I mean, if you get really into saws, you're going to ship a saw or two. Or somebody's going to ship a saw to you, and I mean, it's just super important to do it properly, or your saw doesn't show up there. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is put another one of these guides in here. One of them ended up being missing, so put the guide back in there. Okay, so there's one. Now I'm going to take off the other one right here. This is pretty quick and easy. Take off a couple of screws. Here's one. Okay, take off that screw. And then take an 8mm. I'm going to say, friends, I know I'm known as a Husky guy. I really like me a Stihl. They're a good saw. They really are. I just ended up running Huskies because I was finding Huskies at more reasonable rebuild prices. By rebuild prices, I mean the saw's blown up and I could buy it for $50, $100 and get it running again. Stihls tend to go for premium dollar. I don't know how it is where you are, but here they're gold. They're like Harley Davidsons. They don't really get too cheap. Although I've noticed the Harley market's getting pretty low. I've been looking at Dynas again. I bought basically a brand new Dyna Super Glide when I was like 20 and made payments on it and rode it around like an absolute animal when I was young. I had a lot of fun when I was young. Okay, I'm going to put the side cover back on. I'm trying to do this on camera and make it look like I know what I'm doing. Okay, put the side cover back on. This paint I used is kind of a little bit chippy underneath these nuts, but it is what it is. Like I said, friends, this is a work saw. This thing's gonna ride around in Caleb's truck, and he's gonna cut with this thing 5-6 days a week, hopefully. So I'll keep you guys updated. I've told him for years if that 440 ever pops, I'd like it back so we can do it again. But it still hasn't popped, friends. 4 years of hard service. And it's still going. Okay, so now this thing's safe. It's not going to poke a hole. Next thing I always do, friends, dump the fuel. Dump the fuel, leave the cap off. And same thing with the oil. Dump as much of the oil as you can get out of it. Okay, and the next thing I do, and make sure you tell the guy that's getting the saw this, I always stick a paper towel in there. And what that does is that'll suck up any remaining fuel if there's anything in there. Now, if you have a week to ship the saw, take the caps off, drain it, and just let them sit open, and it'll be, it'll be good to go. But I'm going to do it this way this time. Just wiping what little bit of oil is left on there. Okay, and again, go over the saw, make sure it's clean, shiny, and just all in all in good shape, right? This is your last chance as a saw builder. And any of you guys that take saws in from all over know this. This is your last chance to put your hands on it. For this saw to come back to me, that's an expensive shipping trip and a couple weeks of waiting for it. So you kind of want to make sure, that it's good to go. Okay, I think this thing's ready. Okay, now your sharp parts, lay them down. All I'm going to do is take a little bit of hockey tape because I have tons of this stuff. Because when you're Canadian and you're born, you're gifted 100 rolls of hockey tape, and then you just use it for everything. Now I'm gonna watch these dogs like a hawk because I actually poked myself with one of these last week or a week or two ago right here, and it put a decent hole in my finger. Okay, take the old knife ski, cut that off. Okay, now these won't roll around. Now I'm gonna take 2 pieces of cardboard. And I'm just going to sandwich these together and put a little bit of tape around it. Just so that, okay, just so that it's not going to go anywhere. And then I'll probably put this in the bottom of the box, okay, where it can lay flat, or in the side. Okay, that's what it ends up looking like. You can't fall out either side, and it's good to go. Okay, now, you got to find the right box, okay? 9/10 of this is finding the right shape box to fit this in. Let's see what we got here. Okay, I found this box in the back at work in the warehouse. Look, it's a perfect box. Make sure it's a good heavy box. Now, look, friends, I always pack my saws on an angle like that because they can't move. Okay, so the right size box is 9/10 of the battle, and I think this will be fine. And again, make sure your chain brake's not sticking out. This one's exactly the height of the top, so that's what we want. But before we put it in a box, I'll show you guys the secret to making sure that your saw doesn't get lost in shipping, because this does happen. Okay, the key. I didn't even come up with this, friends. Somebody sent me a saw once, and it was leaking, but it didn't leak into the box. Okay? Take your saw, put it in a garbage bag, especially if the sharp parts are removed. Take the garbage bag, okay, put the saw on the bottom. Now, I love these. These got the drawstrings. These are good stuff. Okay? Take your garbage bag and tie it shut. Now, if you do get the odd drip or leak, well, guess what? Your saw's not going to leak, okay? That is the absolute key to shipping. Now, because I'm filming and I'm not paying attention, I want to make sure the caps are on. Okay, everything's good with this saw. Goodbye, saw. I hope you live a good life where you're going. Friends, I put a lot of my spare time into these saws and filming YouTube, and I want to thank you guys for being here. And we're going to get back to rocking and rolling very soon. Okay, and you do it like that, this thing will never leak a drop. So take your box. For added insurance, I'll usually put another bag in the bottom of the box. Okay, take your saw, slip it down into there. Okay, now I put the chain brake on and it's even lower now. I guess I should undo the flaps. Now the last thing you got to do when you're shipping a saw is make sure it's not going to move in there. Okay. Okay, now the way I have this, I'm just going to pause you guys and put you up a little higher. Okay, now the way I have this saw in here, look, it doesn't really move in the box. That's what you want. If your saw can move around, it'll start smashing side by side, and when the box gets to where it's going, it may have a big hole in it. I've had saws get broken in transit, and remember that Dolmar years ago, friends? One of you guys sent me, the rear handle was busted right off of it. So again, make sure it doesn't move, and then I'll show you guys. I'll stuff this with material and show you guys what I use. I love this bubble wrap stuff right here, okay? I'm going to take some of this and just shove it into this front corner, okay? That'll stop the saw from moving forwards and backwards. Then I'll fill this corner right here. A little bit more on this side. That'll pick up the slack there. Okay, and here's the finished package. Okay, I have material on each side. Okay, notice the saw can't move in there. It's tight, it can't twist. And then I'll take this thing in the house and box it up real good, and it's ready to go to Texas. So there you guys go. That's how you ship a saw. It is a simple thing, or simple on the surface, but I mean, if you don't do it right, a lot of times that saw will get ruined. And if it's something you really like, or it's a customer saw, you just can't have that happen. There you guys go. Okay, well, that's Saw Boxing 101. I hope this kind of content helps you guys. Sometimes the simplest things are the things that we overlook, but that's how I ship saws. Most of my saws cross the border, which means if they smell like fuel, it's a no-go. They're pretty sticky about that. One thing I will say, friends, if you're shipping internationally, do not fly your saw. I've put saws on airplanes, and they don't like that. Apparently, having fuel on an airplane is bad news. So I didn't know, friends, and so I just thought I'd let you guys know that. If it's a brand new saw, you can ship it, but if it's a used saw, you better ask before you put it on the plane. Anyhow, I will mail this to Caleb in Texas. Caleb, thanks for all your support over the years, buddy, and just being a good friend. He asked me this week or last week, friends. He's like, "Hey, did you ship that saw?" I'm like, "No, I didn't. I'm so sorry." I said, "My shop's flooded," and right away he's like, "Oh, I don't care about the saw. How's your shop? Or do you need any? Do you need anything?" That's what a good friend is. So. Anyhow, couple years in the coming, I finally found the right saw for him, and that's a good saw. It pulls a 32-inch bar in hardwood very nicely. It doesn't run too hot. It oils like crazy. It's got good fuel economy. It's exactly, in my opinion, what a work saw should be. Anyhow, friends, thanks for watching. Take her easy, and I'll be back in the saw shop this weekend for sure. Probably on Sunday, maybe. Maybe if it's warm out, we can do some cutting. I do have a funeral to go to on Saturday, though, so definitely won't be doing any sawing on Saturday. But thanks for hanging around and waiting. It's been probably a week by the time you see this since I put out a video, and it just was what it was. I had events after work, been car shopping, and just busy. My wife had some paperwork to do. Last night I was going to come in the shop, and rather than coming out here, I hung out with our daughter and just enjoyed that. And that way my wife could, sit in front of the computer and get some last minute paperwork done. So my life has definitely changed in the last 2 years, but it's changed for the better. Being a family man, being a father is... it's the neatest thing that I've ever experienced. It's watching my wife become a mother is it's just been incredible. So those of you out there that have children, you guys know what I'm talking about. But anyhow, friends, thanks for watching. Take her easy, and hopefully I'll see you guys in a couple days. Later.